thank you so much. I want to welcome you from Tales of the Trails. I want to just start off with talking about what company you work for and what your role is in that company.
Yeah, thanks, Kat. Currently a solution architect over at Salesforce, or as we call it, the mothership. I work in professional services, which is our delivery branch of a customer success group.
Awesome. Okay, so for those of our audience that doesn't know what Salesforce is, what is Salesforce?
That's a great question. It really depends on who you ask. Some would say it's a tool that can do anything. To give you the elevator pitch, it's a platform and customer relationship management system in which some of the largest customers in the world run their business, right? When someone asks me or don't exactly know what Salesforce is, I always like to say it's like, hey, you have a phone? And typically they say yes. I'll say if you have T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, odds are you're at some point being touched by Salesforce when you're calling, someone's logging your case or your ticket on Salesforce. That's the best way to describe it.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that for us. So what are some of your main responsibilities in your role currently at Salesforce?
Yeah, currently a lot of my responsibilities focus around making sure that our customers are successful with their implementations, anything around solution design, making sure that we're scoping the right design and solutions for our customers, and then helping with the delivery of that. What that looks like is typically a customer will buy Salesforce, right? And very similar to partners, we help with the delivery or with what we call advisory or assurance services, where we tell clients or partners, hey, this is what needs to be happening in order for things to go successful. So that's my role. We advise, we solution, and then we help with delivery. That would be what I would describe it to in three parts.
Awesome. So you really have to learn your clients' businesses and really consult through the whole process of setting up their CRM. Is that right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. And most of us have a specialty, whether it's in specific industry or specific product. For me, it's centered around commerce and configure, price, quote, and billing tools, and currently around manufacturing, but it can be around any industry or any other type of product as well.
Gotcha. So do you have any interesting products that you're working on right now that you can share with us?
Yeah, so there's a few things that I worked on from the commerce side, right? For our product, it's called Commerce Cloud. And right now, as we look forward, there's a lot of customers want the experience of having AI, or in our case, Einstein GPT, giving them suggestions, helping them learn what they need, down to the point of telling customers what they would want, right? And that's all possible through Commerce Cloud. And then additionally, talking about interesting products is Data Cloud, right? So Data Cloud acts very much as a data aggregator, making it easy for businesses and for customers to have a seamless customer experience. I can elaborate that more, but that's what it does.
Awesome. So what really sets Salesforce apart from other CRM companies?
To me, really, it's the people, right? And the culture. I know that sounds very cliche, but really the people are what make it, right? The partners such as Banjax, down to my fellow employees, right? Or just anybody that gets on Trailhead, which is our learning management system, or what we call Trailblazers. It's a fun and exciting world to be a part of, right? Showing somebody how to create a report or create a field or an object is very easy.
Nice. So you went into a little bit of the ecosystem and the Salesforce and how it's like a community, but what is it like specifically at Salesforce proper? Like what values are important to the company and what does that culture look like there?
Yeah, so when we think of values, at least to me and to the rest of my peers, is trust. That's the number one value, right? If you hear our CEO, Mark Benioff, talk about it, trust is the most important thing. And that's making sure that we not only build, but keep the trust that our customers have in us, as well as our fellow employees and our partners. And everyone's like, well, what does that look like? To us, it looks like transparency. It looks like inclusion. It looks like just selling what we deliver and delivering what we sell, right? Managing expectations. That's what I would say is the value that drives us the most, trust.
Awesome. I love that. So, what made you get started in this ecosystem? It's just something that I personally was thrown into. So, I got to hear where were you before this? Yeah, what brought you to Salesforce?
So when I first left the military in 2019, I originally joined Oracle NetSuite, which is a great place to work at and very fun and exciting. But I was looking for something of a little bit different, more challenging in a EQ type of way, right? More around managing relationships. And I had a good friend mention, hey, you should come over to Salesforce. At first, I wasn't too enthused, but I drank the Kool-Aid and I ended up joining, right, with his help. So that's how it was. It was very much the way companies have an accidental admin. For
Mm.
me, it was an accidental interview at Salesforce and subsequently and luckily obtaining the role.
Nice. So, how long have you been working with Salesforce?
Yes, very similar to as some of our executives would say, is I had a lapse in judgment and left briefly after a year the first time. Uh, but then I just recently came back in February of this year. I have been here a little bit, about 6 months. So total, I believe I have about a year in 6 months. They do count the time that I was here the first time as well.
Awesome. So I know that you've been doing more with Salesforce other than just working directly for Salesforce. You've got some certifications behind you, if I'm not mistaken. So can you tell us how many certifications you actually have from Salesforce?
Yeah, so I have 32 Salesforce certifications.
32 certifications, Carlos. When do you have time?
I usually spend my time studying, right? Sometimes I would be at the airport. Sometimes it would be at the most random places like bars or at the restroom. Just anywhere I had a chance to study, I would be on Trailhead, either on my phone or on my computer. Additionally, a lot of the times it was just about working with other people and helping them achieve their goals. If someone came to me and said, hey, I want to learn Tableau, I was willing to jump in and study with them.
That's great. I love that. So what advice would you give someone that's looking to pursue a career in tech or
Uh,
Salesforce industry?
the biggest advice I'd give to someone is start now, right?
Mm.
There's no better time to start than today. Oftentimes people will come to me and say, oh, I want to get the certification or I want to do this. And I'm like, what steps have you taken to do that? So I say start now. If you don't know what you want to do or you don't know how to get started, just reach out. All right. Reach out to someone and say, hey, this is what I know. This is what interests me. Would you mind taking 15 to 30 minutes to talk to me about it? The amount of times I get reached out is probably a little bit insane at this point.
Yeah, I can imagine having 32 certifications. I know myself personally, I was studying for the admin exam and I had met somebody at a conference and they looked at me and they were like, hey, if you need help, just reach out to me. And I failed the exam a couple of times. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's it. So I reached out to her and she took time out of her day and sat with me and we took some practice exams. She taught me how to dissect the questions. And after our meeting, I ended up passing the exam. So I am proof that there's people out there that are willing to work with you, take time out of their day. And that's just the ecosystem that they have with Salesforce. Like it's pretty incredible how powerful it is.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, right? Everyone is willing to help you and just take time out of their day to share something fun and exciting.
Yeah,
It just comes down to being open and vulnerable to take the jump.
absolutely. And are there any like products or anything to be on the lookout for Salesforce? I know there's Einstein. Is there anything else out there that we can keep an eye out for?
I would say the biggest one, and here it would probably be data cloud, right?
Okay.
As we look at companies and the amount of information that we create per day, is most of the time customers come to us or to partners and say, hey, how can I leverage this data? How can I manage this data? How can I make it useful to make it a tool instead of something that's burdensome? And data cloud's going to help with a lot of those nuances. Some of the other things I would look forward to, as always, is just features that Salesforce is constantly releasing to make it easier for non-developers to work within Salesforce, right? Even something as simple as the way you modify an internal page has changed drastically to where you can add it or remove it directly on the page layout instead of having to search for it. So I would say just looking for those features, looking for how you can manage and learn data. And then that would probably be the largest one, right? That we're focused on.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing those. So I've got one last question for you, Carlos. You have 32 certifications, you're working at Salesforce, you've got a lot of stuff going on. Where do you see yourself in the next 12 months? Because I know that you work on a lot of things all at once. So I've got to ask, what's your next year's goal?
Right now, I'm focused on this quarter
Yeah.
and getting through this existing
Yeah.
project. But honestly, I just see myself still learning, still growing here at Salesforce, a place that I love, further pursuing my passion for law and law school. And more importantly, just helping others, right? Helping when someone comes to me and asks me to network or ask me for help with a certification. But yeah, just growing with the company and sharing the knowledge that I have.
That's great. Speaking of networking, do you know, is there any upcoming events that if someone's interested in, whether they should get plugged in or not? Is there anything coming up that you can tell the audience about?
Yeah, obviously there's our big event, Dreamforce, right? There is a cost to it, but as I like to tell everyone, especially if you're near a major city, if you're in Texas, Dallas, Houston, Austin, there's user groups, and those user groups host in-person events or virtual events. It's a great place to network for job hunting. It's also a great place to have some of your questions answered. I can't tell you the amount of times that architects or developers bring questions and just casually throw them in there while they're having a drink. They're like, by the way, I thought about this question. Can you help me? And then I spend an hour consulting pro bono. So that's a good one. And then last but not least is just if there's not a user group in your city, right? Create one, right?
Right.
If you build it, they will come, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Carlos, for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time out and joining us. I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon.
I'm sure that's the case.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.